Hello, we are live. Welcome back to another health, thought, and transformation. And I got to get my mic in place because I'm messing around. Yeah, so there we go. We are live. So welcome back to another show, uh, health, thought, and transformation. Today, I wanted to talk about this subject. We're in trouble in America. We have a huge epidemic of people with poor body image, and this is really taking a toll on our mental health, physical health, emotional health. And I wanted to talk about it because I had a um, retreat that I was at the other day. This was last Friday. I was at a retreat and I took my Staiku machine there, and it's a 3D body composition machine. And what it does is measures the body comp and it puts an image of your body on the screen. And I personally didn't realize how much of an emotional effect it would have on someone when they saw their image or their body looking, um, in this 3D fashion. I'll put one up here in a bit so you could take a look. And I just want to talk about the experience and how that made someone feel. So before I get into it, though, thanks for joining me again. My name is Rod Stanley. I go by Rodzilla, and I am both student and teacher here on this show because my goal is to have conversations with people who are wanting to talk about their health, um, thoughts, and it's called thought because anything that you think of can affect your health, and transformation because at the end of the day, we're all here on this plane of existence to have some type of transformation, whether that be a personal one, whether that be someone helping someone around us, or see a transformation in the world. And this show is just me, uh, being the change that I want to see in the world, talking about topics that are near and dear to my heart in the hopes that it piques your interest to be a better person, spread love, change your life, make it better, or what have you. Um, so what does let's get into it. So what does health even look like? Would you know a healthy person if you saw one? What does a healthy person look like? And that's a serious question because what does it look like? I've seen people who are what we would call obese live long lives. I've seen people who were overweight who work out and have perfect blood work, live to be have a long life. And we've also seen people who are seemingly in great shape drop dead early of heart attacks and things like that. And this is a very strange phenomenon that we see going on. And even on the other side of body image, what about those people who have body dysmorphia, who on the outside seem to be super confident, they have it all going, but on the inside they're beating themselves up and having, uh, just poor negative self-image and poor self-talk about how they look, even though they look fantastic. I was a bodybuilder in my late 20s, early 30s, and I knew what that was like to just constantly nitpick at your physique. And you got to get this muscle a little bit bigger, or you got to bring your hamstrings up, whatever it may be. And just being under that state of consistently nitpicking yourself and picking yourself apart, and that can lead to a whole host of mental issues. So let's pull up some stats here really quickly. I wanted to talk about some of the things that we see going on. So it really is a huge problem. So we have 1 in 2 Americans who report some type of dissatisfaction with their body. 91% of women are unhappy with their bodies and resort to some type of dieting. Those are staggering figures. That's almost everyone you see on the street when you're walking around is having some type of issues with their body. Men are becoming more increasingly dissatisfied, and this may be due to consistently seeing images of, buff guys on the internet. I don't know what it may be, but men are experiencing body dysmorphia, and that was what I was talking about a little bit earlier. If you've haven't never seen the documentary called Bigorexia that's on Netflix, it's eye opening. It's a really interesting documentary that talks about these bodybuilders that are huge. I mean, one guy, I think his name was Craig Goliath. Yeah, Craig Goliath. He was, used to work out at the gyms with myself and my buddy Ryan Spiroff when we were in Las Vegas, and we just watched this guy slowly get bigger and bigger and bigger until at one point we were like, man, this guy he doesn't even look human anymore. But yet he walks around uh, thinking that he's too small, and just constantly trying to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's a crazy thing out there. So teen and youth, 58% of college age girls are feeling this pressure, body dissatisfaction, even at the age of 6, this is starting to take place. And here we look at the social media impact. 88% of women, 65% of men compare themselves to images on social media, often resulting in a worse body image. And this is huge because social media is becoming more and more a part of everyone's life. And that's penetrating even into the older population, although they don't do so great with it. But it's really an epidemic because as a fitness expert, health and fitness expert, a lot of people come to me with body image goals. They want to achieve some type of look. But also at the heart of what I do is health and fitness. So the way I see it is that body look is only a piece of the puzzle. So we really have to take a closer look at what does health really mean, especially when we truly define it, because we've talked briefly about some quick examples of people who look seemingly healthy on the outside, but are going crazy and experiencing these things here, which leads me to the next topic: mental and physical effects of poor body image. So these could be linked to depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, increasing the risk of eating disorders, body dysmorphia. About 2.4% of adults experiencing that. Unhealthy eating habits, disordered eating, and oftentimes it can discourage people from getting active and getting going. I read a research some time ago. I can't remember what it was called, but basically where I saw it at. But basically, what it was saying is that someone who exercises, who has a higher body fat percentage, is going to be healthier over the long term than someone who has an equivalent body fat percentage and they don't exercise. So sometimes I get people who feel like they need to be in shape before they come see me to get in shape, but you have to just start somewhere. So having that poor self-image can derail you from even getting started and just keep you down that spiral of continuing to spin your wheels and not get what you want, which is the feeling like you look good. But we'll talk about that later. Social effects, isolation, avoidance. People just don't want to get into things, especially working out, when they don't feel great about themselves. And here are some of the long-term consequences: poor body image, which is a risk factor for obesity; chronic body dissatisfaction, uh, consistently messing with the weight, the health, and self-perception. That's a huge one. Self-perception. It can also affect sexual health, intimacy, identity development, especially in adolescence. So I'm going to pull up one more screen here. So this right here, let's share this tab instead. So we should be sharing this one. Let me double check. Yeah, we are. So we're sharing this screen. So here you can see this 3D body scanner. As I mentioned earlier in the show, I took this 3D body scanner that I have to a retreat, and I was able to measure someone. Here you can see the scanner itself, and it's going to create this type of image for you. And when people see their body like this, oftentimes they feel really bad about themselves. And me, as a personal trainer, I see this as an objective measure of health, because we have those objective measures and we have the subjective measures. But we need the objective measures to be able to see ourselves in a way that we can realize that there needs to be change. But oftentimes we feel so bad about ourselves that when we see these images, it makes us feel unmotivated. And that certainly was not my intention when I brought that scanner there. So that is what prompted me to have this conversation about what does health even look like. If my goal is to get someone healthy, but they're having difficulty getting past the image, which is only a factor of being truly healthy, then we got a problem. We got a real problem. And that's what I'm faced with most days is, people are reluctant to get those objective measures, and that prohibits them from coming into the gym and seeing me, getting started on a program with a trainer somewhere else, or even just stepping out and having the confidence that they can get it done. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen. So let's bring it up here. Yeah, so that's it. So it's a huge problem here. So what does health even look like? The way I see health is there's so many different things that it takes to create a healthy person. And one of the reasons why I wanted to start this little show or podcast is to be able to talk about all of those things that create health. So, you know, to have a really healthy life or lifestyle or be a healthy person, you need to have good finances. You need to have great mental health. You need to have great physical health. And physical health, it could be, your ability to squat, lift, bend, stand, etc. Also, you want healthy relationships, because if things are going crazy in your relationships, you're going to have negative thoughts, and that's going to affect your ability to do things. If you fall into a state of, emotional distress due to your relationships with your family, with your coworkers, with anyone, that's going to have an effect on your health. So really, health is way more than a body image, and I think we all are coming to that understanding. So when we talk about just body image, though, we need to elevate our thinking to get to a point where we can take this information that is objective and then be able to apply it to ourselves subjectively, so that we can get what we really want. And what do we really want when it comes to health and fitness? Because I see the landscape is changing very rapidly about how some people view their health. I see, as I look out on social media landscape, I see it going two ways, honestly. And I see this kind of line of demarcation going on in a lot of different areas in life, fitness being one. So you have a lot of people pushing towards, the aesthetics, the look of fitness. And also, you have people pushing towards the health and going back to natural things that really healed, while the medical industry is going more tech, wanting to implant things in the body to heal. Certainly, both of these things have their place, but at the heart of the matter is really about the perception that the person has of themselves, that's going to ultimately allow them to take their own power and then do the things they need to do to get wherever they want to go, no matter what that goal is. And that's the purpose of this talk today. Is just one, let's define health. We talked about many the different parameters that we talk about that make someone healthy, and what does health look like? I had the privilege about a year or so ago, of working with Lee Asher. Shout out to Lee, great dude, doing some great things. And we would talk about, the different dogs that he would rescue, and he would rescue some dogs that they were on their last leg, to be honest. Literally, sometimes they only had one or two legs, or they were missing a leg. And he would rescue these dogs, and sometimes these dogs would be, just looking really rough. The skin was messed up, the hair was falling out just from all the abuse. And what I really admired about Lee, and what I really appreciate about him, was his ability to see through the outward appearance of what these dogs looked like, and see that they were really truly beautiful animals that just wanted to be loved, right? And I always admired that, because it's like, man, I just didn't have that kind of affinity for animals, especially when I first met him. But it certainly changed over time, and I grew to see that those dogs had more and more of a personality than I initially thought. Because that was my first time ever being immersed in an environment where there were a lot of dogs around, and it was a really cool experience. Shout out to Lee Asher for that. But what I did learn was he had that ability to see the dog's beauty, but we don't even give humans that grace. How many times do you see humans throwing away other humans and saying, "Oh, they're ugly," or "Oh, they're fat," or "Oh, I hate them because they should have worked out more," or "Oh, I hate them because their hair is this way," or whatever it is. We don't often give each other enough grace like that. I can't tell you how many times over the years I've heard people say, "Oh, I just hate fat people," or um, ugly people, or black people, whatever. We just hate people and not realize that beauty, true health, is not superficial. So that's one thing that I've seen, that the landscape that needs to change in the sense that we give each other the grace to have a body of whatever it is, and know that each inside that is a person in there who just wants to be loved and received for who they are. And as we talked about, defining health, what does health really look like? It's not a look. We've seen the bodybuilder. We talked about the bodybuilders who have the dysmorphia, or the thin ladies and men who drop dead, or still obsessing about the diet and obsessing about this and that, and then have the audacity to tell you, hey, you need to stop doing this, while mentally they're having struggles as well. Me, I've never been what we would call fat. I mean, I've certainly been fatter than I would like, but again, it was my perception of what I thought fat was. Now, we do need some clear objective measures of health, but what are those clear objective measures? Those are things that we can measure. So, for example, if we want to get a really truly healthy person, we know they need to have balanced hormones. We know they need to keep their blood sugar under control. We also need they need to manage their blood pressure. They need to manage their finances, their relationships, their emotional responses to things, the ability to de-stress, sleep well. All of these things will determine your health. But if you do all of those things and you're still beating yourself up inside, then how healthy are you really? How healthy are you really? At the end of the day, a lot of the issues that we have are created mentally. So it brings me back to bringing it back home to, how do we have these conversations about subjective health? I'm sorry, about these objective measures, so that someone can let it sink in, so they can apply this information to them without judgment. Because that's what we're really talking about, judging yourself. And I think that's why the scriptures say, judge not, lest ye be judged first. Because anytime we pass a judgment, it's always a reflection of what we're thinking on the inside. So if someone may not feel comfortable about a measurement, it's how they are viewing themselves that makes them feel uncomfortable with it. The Staiku, for example, is a objective measure. It doesn't really care if you're tall, skinny, over fat, over muscular. It's just taking the measurement, but your perception of it is really going to determine how you receive the information, or how you're able to even take the information and apply it to yourself. So really, at the heart of becoming more healthy, it's really looking at the subjective, looking at yourself, so that you can make the change, because all the change comes from within. So I really want to encourage everyone to put down what you call your own the objective standard of beauty, or what others say is a standard of health, and to start to define health from the inside. How are you feeling about your body? How are you feeling about your health? How are you feeling about your finances? Because as things start to be viewed in this vantage point, it becomes much more clear on what is going to make you truly happy and feel your best. Because at the end of the day, no matter what someone says to me about their fitness goal, their life goal, they want to feel better and feel great about what they're doing. They want to feel great about how they perceive themselves to look. They want to feel great about how they are going about the day and interacting with people, and they want to have those good feelings. And a lot of it starts within. Just like anything else. So that's it. I just want to talk about, what is health. Would you know a healthy person if you see one? Odds are you probably wouldn't, because it doesn't seem like most people recognize what a healthy person looks like, and that's okay. So as times progress, we will get more and more clarity on what that looks like to be a truly healthy version of yourself. So until next time, if you found this conversation useful or valuable, I'd love to have you back and get some interaction here. Otherwise, we'll see you next Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. Be healthy, have some great thoughts out there, and transform lives.